Thank you very much, Renato, that you agreed to answer some questions. We were very fascinated by your film, and we're looking forward to presenting it at our festival, online and offline this year. And here's my first question. Where does the idea of filming a movie about an indigenous woman of the Russian North initially comes from? And just a movie about all of the hardships an indigenous woman faces also while living in the Russian North.
I come originally from Guatemala. I am from Guatemala, but I live in Russia already 10 years. And this film wasn't a film I I came to make in a very rational way. Actually, living in Moscow when I was studying film, and I always had the feeling that it's a very strange feeling that you live in a city, and I guess everyone who lives in a city might ask the same questions themselves, or not. Uh, the question is where all this money and this richness and comes from if they are not produced here. They come, everything comes from somewhere. And in Russian economy is very visually clear that all this richness comes from natural resources, and you can draw a line in the map where the pipelines that bring these resources to be sold in Europe go towards the whole continent till the north of Siberia, for example, or other places. And then, since I originally came to Russia with a scholarship to study oil engineering, I always had the feeling that I am somehow have to do something around this, but I didn't know what. And my wife, she was born in the same hospital in the same year that Ivanna, in the same city. And with her we traveled to this city where that you see in the end of the film, where my wife was born. We traveled there to just to see the place where she lived her childhood and be there. And being there, we had a camera with us, but we weren't there with the idea of making a film, just not knowing. But we had a camera, and in some moment we started to meet people and trying to feel this place not like tourists, but like staying there doing some work and also meeting people. And by chance we started connecting with people that also had some feeling of otherness to the city. There were many immigrants from the tundra, many reindeer herders that have moved to the city uh, to live in the traditional way of life. And it was with them that we found some kind of key to open this place for us. And we weren't wanting to make a film about this, but suddenly, by accident, by a very happy casualty, we met Ivanna. And it was a very gut instinct that after this first conversation we had with her, where she told us that she needs to emigrate to the city because she has no chance without reindeers, but also because she wants to try another life. Uh, and no one in her family believed that it was possible. But in this conversation, we felt her determination and we were able to believe that it was going to happen, and we had the urge to accompany her. And we just met. she was very clear then that she wanted to be accompanied. You know, is somewhere. This meeting was something about a strong curiosity from both sides. And the next day we met. We were already traveling to her house, 15 hours on a snowmobile to the tundra, and spent there like 4 weeks, not shooting, nothing, maybe 5 shots or something, but just watching, always with the clarity that we're persons that are observing and are accompanying, but are very useless for this life. We cannot help in in nothing. We were accompanying, and when we went back to Moscow, where we live mainly, we had the absolute clearness that we should go back to Ivanna and make a film with her. So that's a long story. We came back then and started shooting a film that was a film that we wanted to do to accompany, to put our bodies, our physicality, and all our concentration to integrate to her presence, to her life, to accompany. And it was also her will and necessity and desire to be accompanied, to tell someone her her story, but not telling, because she's not an oral person, just someone you can be accompanied with. So it took 4 years, not shooting the whole 4 years, of course, a couple of months every year. And yeah, that's the story.
Wow, I would never even imagine that there would be such a personal touch and such a personal history behind this scenario, the script. Thank you very much. And would you say that Ivanna's life is unique and one of a kind, or does it represent the lives of the women of the North? Because it's a well-known fact among Russians that indigenous men in the Russian North, they have a problem with alcohol abuse. So would you say that women are more responsible because of that in the family, and that they have the leading role?
Well, the thing why we love uh, Ivana in this sense that we think that a film, to shoot a film with her might be a film about us, about everyone, not only about indigenous people, not only about but about human condition, is because she is a person that lives her life which with big intensity, and this doesn't mean that it's always in big emotions, but this means that um, there is always an inner process of reflection, maybe slow, but it's happening, something very charged. And at the same time, she's not a victim or a hero or only one archetypical character. She is a person with a big complexity. And unlike many films that we saw about indigenous issues in the north of Russia or in many other places, instead of using a character to illustrate certain ideas, we decided to embrace the complexity of this human being, to make this complexity and this um, humanness the main object of our work, of our observation, of our storytelling, of our dramaturgy. And that's why we always tried to this film to be a very physical, sensorial experience, in the sense of it demands of the viewer some effort also to look into information through the prism of emotions and to learn from the face of the characters the information it needs. We take a lot of information out. So, and what I want to say is that of course, in the first place, our concern was to make a film about a person we can relate to and feel. So it's not a film about only about indigenous women, but of course, she is also an indigenous woman, and of course, I feel that somehow is representative of many people. But this film is not about representation, but about presentation of an unique person. So we try to make the uniqueness and the particularity and the concrete person to open us emotionally to a human common problem, which is how can we manage to make a decision when it seems that we don't have a possibility to make a decision, when it seems like everything is decided per se. So, and how do we live without that and with that? And is it was our aim to do that. But of course, also this film has a big political stand, but is a political reflection that is constructed with the viewers. It's not something that we want to express, because we don't make a film to illustrate our political convictions. We make a film to accede to something that is not easily definable by words and can only be told in this way. So the politics in the film, your access to them, we tried that you access to them the same way as you access to information, and in this film, through emotional connection with the character, with a concrete character. So I might say, of course, it's a film about position of women in indigenous societies in the north of Siberia, but the aim was to make a film about this that I say, and about many women and many men in our world.
I think you've managed to capture this humanness, and it was also very informative. So thank you very much again, and I think you've reached the goal. I'm really sure that a lot of people, a lot of women, and especially our audience will also feel that, just like we felt that when watching the movie. My third question would be, were there any cultural or environmental hardships, just difficulties which you faced while filming the movie?
You mean environmental, like how, like what?
Like, I imagine it must have been also some kind of an experience filming a movie in the north during winter in Russia.
Yes, yes. Obviously, we were living in the same house that Ivanna.
In this small house?
Yeah, yeah. So we
With
felt,
her or in a separate one?
no, with her, and the the thing is that this is not a film that can be done by a big crew that comes with a known trailer in a helicopter, and they have this kind of hotel near the tundra, like or with a big fancy camera that's half of the size of a human being, so it's a film that aims to invite the audience to assist to this intimate relationship between the person holding the camera and the characters and the space. So it's always a handheld camera. There's always someone behind it with holding it with his hands, not with a tripod. And this means that you are, as a viewer, even if you forget about that there is someone behind the camera, you are always assisting to the feeling that no, to the movements, to the relationship, to the view, to the objective, to the position in space of a concrete person, which is holding the camera. And this for this to become an intimacy and to not to destroy the reality of life in this little space, you need time. And so all these hardships that might seem that Ivanna is looking like that Ivanna is fighting to survive in the tundra and then in the village and everywhere, all these hardships, all this weather, all everything is something we experienced close to her physically, and with the certainty that we will survive because we see how Ivanna does. But physically it's tough, as it's physically tough to be Ivanna and to survive there. So uh, it was a process that had a lot to do also with exhaustion. This exhaustion, when you are exhausted with another person, that is when you share this exhaustion, sometimes this is even more this might bond you deeper than any conversation you can have in life with people, you know. Sometimes this common physical experience. So yeah, that was a difficult, but I don't think that is the main difficulty in the film. And also I think we were very lucky because we had the camera. We could during the shootings in the tundra, like maximum we could turn it on 1 hour a day. So we were always because of the electricity. Uh, so you can turn it on 1 hour a day, so you can maximum shot 30 minutes a day. It's almost like filming and film. But we were always with the camera in the position of a person with a camera. And we had our hands in some camera or in some sound device. So when there is need of some hands, ours were full. So we are our uselessness to help in this world was justified because the fact of we are actively taking part of an action, but with a camera. And this gave us also a lot of time to reflect and to kind of understand the cyclicness of this life. And the main challenge, I think, it was to have this reflective reflective impulse at the same time that you are integrated to the action. So that was difficult. That was even more difficult than passing cold or hunger. But that's what we like about films.
Just a small question about the living conditions of Ivanna. How big or how small was her house?
Uh, see.
Because when watching the movie, I got an impression that it was very big, and I felt very compassionate that she has to live there with 5 kids. But when you say that you also lived in the same small house, I just want to ask the question how small or how big it was.
Uh, Maybe 2.5 meters, and
The length or the width?
4.5 in that
Mhm.
direction and 2.5 this, something like that. They cannot be very big because of the heating. They are wooden, heated with wood and stove, and so the smaller the better for keeping the heat. And also the more people sleep in one place, the more heat you have. So it wasn't a real inconvenience, to be honest. And that's the only way we could shoot to live with her. There are not hotel rooms or um, yeah, we had to live there, and it was a very physical also connection of like very of the closeness was big, not only psychologically but physically, and it's a process that was very based also on that compatibility in a certain way.
Thank you for putting it into perspective. Um, I was also surprised to see that the production countries mentioned, in, for example, the press kit was not just Russia, but also Norway, Estonia, and Finland. And I'm just curious what the role of these countries was in the production process.
Yeah, in the production process, like this is a film that was self-financed. Let's say the first 3 years of shootings, the biggest part of the shootings was financed by ourselves, by our work in something else. And so it was quite difficult. And then we finished the shootings with a little help of a Finnish fund that our co-producer from Finland uh, managed to get for us to finish the shootings. And then during the post-production, we started working with a Norwegian partner who helped us finance the editing and the and other post-production things, and we made the sound design in Estonia and the color correction in Russia. So yeah, they are partners that help us finish the film in the post-production, which is very difficult to finance too, and in proper conditions in our context in Russia is very difficult for a film to get funded by the state funding. We didn't have support of Russian state funding, which is the case for many European documentaries that have a state fund that can help. For independent filmmaking is key to have some support of non-commercial and state funding, and we didn't have the chance. So it was crucial in order for finishing the film to get some partners from Europe who are interested in stories about Arctic also, and that may have common situations and common interest in the lives of our character. So that's the role they have.
And one last question. Do you know what's going on in the life of Ivanna today? I'm in particular interested whether she landed that job in Gazprom.
No, she didn't got the job there, but she's living in the city where you see her the last time, and she has a 1-year-old daughter. She's struggling to better the conditions. Now she lives in an apartment, not in the same house you see in the outskirts of the city, but an apartment, which is a bit better. And the children are studying, and she's trying to go on in life. Yeah, this she misses the tundra. Maybe this summer she will get there for a visit to her family.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. This is a very empowering story for other women, and it was very, very human. Yeah, as I've told you already, we think that you made a great job, and we're very thankful that the world and our audience are going to see this movie. Thank you very much.
Thank you for showing the film. I like a lot Berlin audiences and German audiences, and I really look forward for the screenings and to invite some friends to the screenings.
Yes, and we wish you a sweeping success in the future, and also all the best in the future projects and production.